good coffee. I'm in Glasgow. But what becomes awkward sometimes for me is when I realise I've just left a peaceful and safe environment in China, then I fly back to Scotland, turn on the television, tune into what's happening in England, and I see society, communities pulling themselves apart with riots and violence. And then the awkward moment is I explain what it's like living in China, and it's very safe there, and people just don't get it. This is a tale of three countries: China, England, and Scotland.
I like to be educated, but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before I knew. Rewind, take it out of key.
So this is a tale of three countries: China, England, and Scotland. And it is not going to be pleasant for everyone as I talk, but you really have to get your head around some of this stuff. And I note here, Scotland at the moment does not have the violent rioting that is happening in England, although, gotta say, we do have the Catholic versus Protestant nonsense, which is not a kick in the arse off being the same thing, to be honest.
Innocence can be a young man's game. Signed up for the hall of shame. I wish I knew.
Rioting in England seems to me to be based on racial tensions and immigration, similar to Protestant Catholic, goes back a long, long way. One thing to remember also is that they did promise that unchecked immigration would be fixed by Brexit. So just keep that in mind, and I'll come back to that maybe later. But at the moment, Scotland seems to be in a much different place socially and politically from England. And I would put it that that is down to the policies of the Scottish Government, which is more socialist than, say, what we have in Westminster in London. The UK government has been conservative, and they have ran a programme of austerity for the past 14 years. And this, to be honest, has taken its toll. And I do hope Scotland really does remain sensible, and I think they will, and there will be no riots in Scotland. So first of all, I live in Beijing in China, and I've travelled to many places in China, and yes, China may have its problems like all developing countries, but China is safe. So China is safe, it's looking after its people, and it's building up its infrastructure, manufacturing, medical systems, hospitals, health, education facilities, just to name but a few. Shit, it even has a space station. And I've got to say, China is a great place to live, and the fundamental core value of being free, as touted by the Western government, for me has to be that you're safe and the people around you are safe. And for that I have to say, yes, in China it is very safe. And if you don't believe me, then hop onto YouTube, watch the magnitude of video makers that are on YouTube and that are sharing their experiences, and the vast majority of them will tell you what I have told you just now, that China is very safe and it's a beautiful, flourishing country, and they will even go further and share more. And if you should look at what they're sharing, you will see and you will be amazed as much as what they are when they get to China. That, for me, says a lot. So I was talking to my son the other day, and I explained, as I was talking through China, I explained to him that my point isn't that I am singing the praises of China, although I am, but my real point is that when I go to China and I live there and I look around and travel through China, I can see where the money is being spent, and I can see the people and hear from the people there, because they tell me that they have came a long way through some tough times, and they're very appreciative of what they have now. Many of the population has come from poor, tough backgrounds, and there are generations that remembers the abject poverty that was there 40, 45 years ago. And they are thankful. And that is God's honest truth. And I'm in a church. That's why I said that. Probably not good. When I come back to the UK, I see the opposite of that. I see decline, rising poverty, and I see frustration. I see people looking to blame, and I see them being pointed in the wrong direction by the very people that should shoulder the blame. I see the generations, similar to the generations in China, talking about the past, but they come to that conversation two very different outcomes. They talk about wanting things back the way it was. They want their country back. But when you actually press them, they actually don't know what they want. But often what they describe is that they want a form of safety and some form of prosperity. And I get that in a way, but the reality is that they have rose-coloured glasses when it comes to the past. I lived in the UK for most of my life, and I do not recognise the past that these people talk about. I grew up here in Glasgow, and to be honest, there was poverty, violence all around me. I can tell you stories of death, stabbings, sectarian violence, bombings, of running for my life from gangs who, dare I say it, were white. And it's not a pretty conversation to have, but gangs full of drugs or sniffing glue and desperate for some respect, but they lacked hope. And guess what? That's what I see in China. Despite the challenges being put in place by the Western world, people in China have hope. They're willing to learn, try new things, curious of mind. And you can see that in abundance, actually, when you look at the Olympic team representing China. And it's fantastic to see. That hope is what I want, really, to be honest, for the people in the UK, and also in particular for the people in Scotland. I want people here in the UK to have that same zest for life, that same hope. Is that too much to ask? And I am being unfair in what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't think so. So what I do recognise in England is that decline, that desperation, and don't let anybody else tell you any different. It's that fear, the same stuff that I saw. The sun's coming up, it's been raining all day, but it's the same stuff that I saw in the 80s and the 90s. Fear, poverty, abuse, family problems, and I seen it all when I was growing up in Glasgow in the 80s and 90s, and that exact same stuff. And this is the thing for me. It doesn't have to be this way. It really doesn't. And I've seen another way exemplified in China. And in fact, I see it in many other countries. That focus on how to benefit their people, the focus on supporting their people. Because, to be honest, the UK government should have been investing all along, not running a programme of austerity. They should have been investing, in my opinion, in their people and not investing in nonsense like Brexit, which really has done immense damage to the British economy. People forget what was promised during Brexit. People have short or selective memories. The reality is, people, to be honest, people, you were conned. You were catfished, as my daughter would say. You were absolutely conned. And welcome to Glasgow, by the way. This is the way the weather is here. 1 minute it's sunny, 1 minute it's raining. 1 minute the sun is really up, strong's in my face. Next minute, thunderclouds. Might even get snow later. That, for me, is Glasgow.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright. And for the first time in a long time, I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things.
So yeah, people, in my view, you were conned. All of what I would point to as the cause of the problems faced in England, the stuff that's causing the riots, I would point to the stuff I just mentioned before, earlier in this video. A steady and now deep decline because of the policy that are put in place that were designed, in my view, to enrich a few people at the expense of the many. And when I come back to the UK, I'm often left with one really deep question that I reflect on for what is supposedly the 5th, 6th largest economy in the world, and that is, where did all the money go? Then, to be honest, I inform myself and I look at what is happening now, and I realise the people who benefited, who filled their pockets, are the very same people who are now deflecting everyone towards the rioting, often through proxies like this guy Tommy Robinson, which isn't even his real name, and he's also got some dodgy backers and so on, and he's sitting on a beach somewhere in Greece and while people are tearing up the country. I read this sentence the other day in a tweet and it really resonated with me, and it sums everything up, really, to be honest. People in England are fighting a civil war when they should be fighting a revolution. Now let me say that again. People in England are fighting a civil war when they should be fighting a revolution. Now I do not believe in violence. It's not the proper route, but ideologically, if that's easy for me to say, that sentence resonates with me. Now I ask myself, is there a state of being that is in between where England is at the moment, where they're consumed with some anger and bitterness and violence, versus China, a place that I am familiar with, and I can point to that as an example, and yeah, that would be Scotland. Scotland isn't perfect by anyone's stretch of imagination, trust me, but like I said, there was some government policies put in place that help people get through their everyday life, the challenges that they face, and that is despite the budget that they would have to work within, because it was controlled by Westminster, controlled by the UK, who was on that path of austerity. Now I do believe Scotland could be so much more, and I live for that day that they are, but I also recognise the people that say I'm also hypocritical because I don't actually live in Scotland, and that may be so, but calling me on that, in my view, is reflective of how simple-minded you just might be. You need people like me to go out into the big, bad, wide world and bring back the message and hold it up to your face and say, hey, there is a different way, and here is an example. Now let me finish on this point. I went to the Edinburgh Festival the other day. It was magic. I've seen people from all around the world enjoying the festivities, and I'm going to share that with you as I talk. I heard all the different languages being spoken, the different way people were dressed. In fact, I was with my sister, who is a magical person and who is an American, and she dresses like an American. She was an absolute ray of sunshine, bright colours. She shone that day, and I so appreciated that, because my choice of colour is usually black, grey hair, blue, and I'm boring in that respect. But the world is made up of different people with different approaches to everything. At the festival, I heard beautiful music being played, from bagpipes to classical guitar. I seen the smiles, I heard the laughter, and I appreciate every damn moment of it. It was magical. People getting along and enjoying life. It was just, yeah, it was a fantastic day. And from that simple experience, I can see that we can all get along if we just put a bit of effort into it. And that is it. It takes effort. It takes absolutely good governance, but also takes fairness, investment, understanding, and it takes stuff like education. Also, educate yourself. Please do that. Get on YouTube, go elsewhere and educate yourself. And when you do, you will see that you are being played like a set of, dare I say it, bagpipes. Now, finish on this. It's amazing that after the rioting in England, people came on the streets to say, enough, that's not what we stand for. And for me, that gives me hope. Gives me a lot of hope. We just need a government that can invest and build up the country, because at the moment we're going in the wrong direction. Anyway, this is me, Ian, here, not in China, not in Beijing, in my home city of Glasgow, which is raining one minute, sunny the next. Anyway, as I said, take care of yourself, your family. Peace out. Catch you soon. That was just me rambling a little bit. Take care.